Back to money movers as tariff uncertainty continues to impact global trade. 12 states last week made the move to sue the Trump administration for what they are calling unlawful tariffs, arguing that the president, quote, upended the constitutional order and brought chaos to the American economy. Joining us now, Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes. Attorney General Mayes is co-leading the coalition of attorney generals that are suing the Trump administration. Attorney General Mayes, thanks for joining us. Why isn't your argument better left to Congress if, in fact, Congress believes its role is being usurped by the administration?
Hi, David. Well, that's a great question, and I would say Congress it really needs to take action at some point, but for whatever reason, they have not stood up for their prerogatives and their power. This is clearly what Trump has done in enacting these tariffs. I call them taxes. Violates the Constitution, violates Article 1 of the Constitution. But if they won't act, the attorneys general of this country will. And we have to do that to uphold the law, the Constitution, and to protect our residents and our consumers who are already being hurt by these tariffs.
The president is using emergency powers here, saying that, I guess, the current state of trade represents an unusual and extraordinary threat. Why do you disagree?
Because it's not. Because there's no evidence that Great Britain poses an extraordinary threat to the United States. No evidence that Switzerland or any of these other countries that are being impacted by the IEEPA tariffs are an extraordinary threat to our country. And I would add the fundamental, argument that we're making, David, here is that IEEPA itself does not allow the president to levy these tariffs/taxes. Nowhere in IEEPA does it even mention the word tariffs. So we're contending that all of these tariffs that have been levied are illegal, and we're going to continue to stand up for the people of our states and protect our states against the terrible impacts. I mean, David, we're already seeing the price of roads and highways go up. Here in Arizona, we're seeing our universities have to pay an inordinate amount more for the equipment that they're buying. Companies like Freeport, mining is going to be impacted. Small businesses throughout Arizona are going to be impacted. We had a coffee company tell us that they're already seeing the price of tea go up. And so small businesses throughout all of our states are going to be devastated by these tariffs when they're fully in effect.
I just want to understand what you're saying about the law, because I think it's important here. So the Emergency Economic Powers Act, which as we understood it, and as the administration is using it, they passed it in 1977, gives the president the power to impose tariffs under an unusual and extraordinary event, correct?
Well, look, it gives, first of all, no, it does not give the president the power to impose tariffs. Again, Sarah, tariffs is not mentioned in IEEPA. It's not even mentioned. So IEEPA really was a statute, when you go back and look at it, was meant to actually restrain the president's power. Congress actually thought that the president had too much power under the other statutes, by the way, that the president could have used, but we think he didn't use those other statutes because those statutes had time restrictions on them and other prerequisites that the president would have had to follow. So no, IEEPA doesn't mention tariffs. And Sarah and David, I think it's really
the ability to regulate international commerce, right? Isn't that essentially?
But the language really speaks to things like embargoes and sanctions. It doesn't mention tariffs. And Sarah, I think it's really important to note here that no other president ever has used IEEPA to levy tariffs. And I think that's because the other statutes that perhaps, maybe you could make an argument that tariffs could be done under, like the anti-dumping statute, requires prerequisites to be met and has time limits.
what are your expectations in terms of the success of your lawsuit? Where, just give us a timeline here. There are so many challenges to various things the Trump administration has undertaken under so-called emergency powers, not just in this area, as you know, but in others as well. Do a lot of these end up at the Supreme Court, in your opinion?
Well, we'll see. Obviously, we have filed this case in the International Trade Court, David, and as you know, we're not these states, which actually is 13 states when you count California, are not alone. We have two or three other private industry lawsuits that have been filed. Those, I think, may end up being consolidated in the Court of International Trade. We have a 3-judge panel that will be hearing our case. Obviously, we think that we want to get these tariffs in front of these judges. We'd like a decision quickly because, as you guys have been reporting on this network, these impacts of these tariffs are already happening. The port of LA is 1/3 empty. Carl Quintanilla posted this morning a chart that showed the dramatic drop in shipments from China. We're looking in Arizona at shelves potentially being empty, not to mention the impact on our small businesses. Who knows what's going to happen to them? And so much of our employment here in Arizona really is based on small businesses and how they do.
Yeah, sadly, he had jury duty today. Otherwise, he could have come on here to talk to you about that. But kind of Asian, it's not the biggest part of our economy. It's under 15% of our economy, and China is even smaller than that. So what are we talking about as far as what impact? I mean, the market's not even sure that we're going to be going into recession as a result of all this.
Yeah, well, I personally, and I think others who are really on the ground level in the States are pretty sure that we're headed, if not already, in a recession. We're seeing businesses lay people off. We are seeing the effects of this, and we're very, very concerned about it. And look, Arizona is a growing state, as you know, and when you have the CEO of Freeport-McMoRan come out and say that these tariffs are going to affect mining, when you have our universities saying that they're already having to pay millions more for specialized equipment, when you have our Department of Transportation saying that this is going to impact the price of building roads, that is a huge impact. We need to protect Americans from these taxes that are being imposed on us by Donald Trump through these tariffs. It's our job. And frankly, it's our job to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law.
Yeah.
We can't have markets in this country working fluidly without democracy and without the rule of law.
The only thing I would point out is he's not the first president to, use emergency provisions of laws. I mean, the Supreme Court struck down President Biden's use of the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students Act to forgive loans during COVID under some obscure emergency powers as well.
I mean, fair, Sarah, and I think, the same arguments go here. If a president is unlawfully using powers that he doesn't have, and he just doesn't have the power under IEPA, and that, by the way, covers the worldwide tariffs, China tariffs, Canada tariffs, and the Mexico tariffs. If the power isn't there, then the courts have a duty to strike it down. And so that's what the Democratic AGs of this country are trying to do. We are going to stop this lawless action by this president, which really is going to harm our economy, continue to roil the markets that I hear you guys reporting on every single day when I watch your show, and it's going to continue to harm employment.
All right. Well, we're appreciative you watch our show, Attorney General Mays, and we're happy you joined us as well this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Still to come, Donald Trump Jr. launching a new invite-only club in D.C. that will cost you more than $500,000 to join. We've got some details later this hour.